Hello YouTube and welcome to another episode of Let's Learn the Mods. Today we're going to be learning about metals and alloys and such from Tinker's Construct as well as the Smeltery. So let's get started on Tinker's Construct Smelteries. To get started you need a basic groundwork. We got seared bricks all on the bottom in a 3x3 pattern. We have a smelter controller. You only want one anymore and it'll cause issues. You need a sear tank, at least one. This stores the lava, which is used to melt down the ingots and whatever into liquid form. You can use a seared window or a seared brick here, it doesn't really matter, or even another seared tank. It's up to you. And then we have seared bricks all around. We have a smeltery drain here. This allows you to drain out of the smeltery. Then you need sear faucets. You can put them on either side. This side works as well. And you right click them to remove the liquid and then kind of put it on either casting table or a casting basin. Casting basins make blocks. Casting tables kind of depending on what cast you have, it'll make a various assortment of things. I'll cover that in a minute. Alright, so to get started, you need two things to kind of make a cast. Cast allows you to make different molds for metals. So you can use both copper and aluminum, and this will make aluminum brass. Alright, so we're going to let that melt down, but before that we need some lava in it. So let's give it some lava. There we go. And see, everything will drop down in there. And then we'll just wait for that to melt. Over here we have gold melted down. You can also use gold as a form of a cast. So let's make a cast for an ingot. It doesn't matter which ingot you put down there, just as long as it's an ingot. Okay, so then we right click that. And now we have an ingot cast. We can now make ingots if we so choose. So if we right click, that'll make the ingot. And then it'll dry in a second and or harden in a second, and then you can right click it off. Good. Alright, and over here we have our aluminum brass melting down. This is an alloy, basically. If you melt down aluminum and copper, they will actually fuse into a new alloy. So let's wait on that, and then we can right-click it out. Awesome, so we got some copper and some aluminum brass. So we got a little bit of extra copper, so we could probably throw one or two more aluminum in there. But anyways, that did what we want, so we could right-click that. Right? Nope. Oh, maybe. Oh, we don't have aluminum brass on the bottom. So if aluminum brass is not on the bottom, you run into a situation where it's not on the bottom, you can left-click it on the list, and it'll bring it down to the bottom. It looks like we don't have quite enough aluminum brass, so let's wait on that for a second, and then it'll be good to go. Okay, so that should be enough. There we go. See? Okay, there we go. Right-click it, and then the aluminum brass will come out, and we get an ingot cast from that as well, which apparently is not going into my inventory, but that's probably because I'm in creative mode. So that's how you make aluminum brass or gold to make the cast. Now I actually want to make a specific cast for tools. Because as you can see here, I have a tool forge, and what this tool forge is used is to make the Tech 2 variants of items. So in this case, we have a hammer. If you don't know kind of what this process involves, you can refer back to my first episode on creating things. But I'm gonna kind of assume you know how to make the hammer and the axe, and not assume you know how to make the casts required to make them. So let's get started on the casts themselves. Alright, so here we have a pickaxe head in our inventory. So you can come over here, and then you just press right-click that, and then as we were making the aluminum, or the ingot cast, we can also make the pickaxe head cast. And then you would take the pickaxe head cast, and you would plop it down here, and if you wanted to make a cast, you would of the actual item, you would pour any metal you really essentially want to go on this. You would right click it just as you were doing an ingot, and it would mold into the item you're trying to make. In this case it would be a pickaxe head, which is used to make pickaxes, obviously. Alright, so that pretty much covers on how you would produce those specific items. Now let's cover kind of the automation process of this. I will cover how to actually build the thing in a little bit. All right, so for automation, all you really have to do is essentially, you can use applied energistics. This is one way. We have an export bus here. This will export anything that's kind of in the system. It'll export it out and then place it in here. We should probably get an ingot cast, so let's do that real quick. But it'll essentially just pull out whatever's in the system, that is these items, and then it'll actually drop it into the controller, and then the controller will drop it into there, and then it'll slowly melt down and such. So let's drop all of our ore in here. And let's also automate the process of getting lava into there. So here we have an ender tank. So you could set up a pump in the nether, and then with ender tanks, and then right click that. And so the red's on top, and this will actually fill up with lava. So, and now it's starting to melt down and whatnot. Over here, we have some hoppers. Each one is I shift right click one onto the chest. I shift right clicked one onto there, and there, and so on down the line. That connects them all and then causes everything to dump into this chest. And on top of it, I have an import bus. This will import everything into the system. So as you can see, we have redstone clocks up here causing a redstone pulse constantly, which allows the faucets to constantly act as if they're being right clicked, dumping the gold into there. And over here, as you can see, we're getting gold into the system. And then it'll eventually move on to iron and whatnot as it moves down the list. Over here we have a more vanilla style of it. So like, let's say we wanted to melt down blocks of gold for whatever reason. We have a redstone clock over here, which it just uses delayers and redstone dust. And the delays are set to different ticks. And then it just pulses every time, causing the faucets to eject the liquid that's in the system. So that's another way you can do it, and as before, we do the hoppers onto the chest. So if you're curious on how to actually set up the hoppers, you would set down a chest, you would hold shift and then right click, 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 and this will go all down the line and then end up in this chest eventually. So if I put this lava bucket here, it would eventually end up down here. See? There we go. Perfect. Alright, now let's get started on actually constructing this. So for the absolute bare minimum, you need one smeltery controller, like I said before. You need a seared tank, if I can click that. There we go. Oh, please, come here. Stop that. Alright, so one seared tank, and one seared bricks there. We then put seared bricks on the bottom, like that. And then we do this all around. And then we put a smeltery drain down. And now it's up to you what you want to use. You can use a casting table or you can use a casting basin. It's really up to you. Casting basins are used for ingots. Casting table is used for all the various assortment stuff. You may want a casting table or you just may want to make blocks. I don't know, but it's up to you. Then you need a sear faucet. And then you would just take your lava. In this case, we're going to be using this. There we go. Right click that. And it's good to go. Unfortunately, you don't want to put this right next to here because this kind of acts as an input as well. So keep that in mind when you're doing that, because as you can see, this is completely filled up with lava now. So if you wanted to get rid of that, all you'd have to do is break the controller, and there we go. It's completely emptied out. But yes, this can be used as an input. So let's say you wanted to like liquefy metals and then put them into basically like storage or whatnot. So let's break that and then get some fluid ducts. Fluid duct. There we go. And then all we'd need is a servo. And let's just get a random tank. Any tank will do. So in this case, we're going to be using resonant tanks from thermal expansion. So we're going to place that there. Get rid of that, and we're going to take a fluid duct and a pneumatic servo. Place the fluid duct there, pneumatic servo on there. We'll then do this, and then we just need a wrench. Wrench. There we go. Oh, this wrench. Okay, so let's disconnect it from that and then do that. There we go. So now this is actually outputting into this thing. You can also use ender tanks. It's really up to you. And if you ever find that you want to put it back into the system, you can take this, place a fluid duct here. That's actually connected there. And then you can put your resin and ender tank or whatever tank you want to use. And then you can right-click it, and that'll turn orange if it's one of these tanks. And it'll actually output it back into the system. So it's actually putting the gold back into the thing. And those are going straight into there. So that's another way you can kind of store it. You can also store all the liquids in Railcraft iron tanks. It's really up to you. But yeah, that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover in this episode. I'm using obviously gold. You can use iron or essentially any other metal that can be melted down in here. If it can't be melted down, at all, it'll actually not make any progress. So in this case, we're going to put like coal into here to kind of give an example. As you can see, this isn't even making any progress at all. That's because it can't be melted down. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And remember that if you put things in, there is a chance that they could become alloys. Like if you put copper and tin in at the same time, you're likely going to get bronze out as opposed to just copper and tin. So also keep that in mind when you're doing this. I think that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you all later. Thank you all for watching the video. If you liked it, please press like. Also, leave a comment saying what you liked or disliked about the video. You can share it on social media sites by going to share and clicking on the different social media buttons, depending on what you have. And if you want to support me financially, you can actually use this link in the description, which will take you to Amazon.com. So if you're looking to make purchases, go through this link if you want to make some purchases off of Amazon. That'll support me financially. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all later.